Hi guys.
Hi, Irfan.
Hi Joshi. Yeah, I think we got a little late. Yeah, a couple of minutes late. We can start if everybody is there. Hello.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I didn't have a look at the list of issues just before the meeting. Actually, I had a quick look at what are the issues assigned to Alpha Milestone. I realized we don't have um, we don't necessarily have owners against each of them. I think there isn't much that we need to further do except for figuring out the image build, that is the release image build and versioning. I think these two, yeah, and the third one is the documentation. These three are the pending items which we need to complete. So
Yep.
I'll just share my.
I, s- I did see your PR renaming KubeF node to Federate KubeFed 2, right?
Correct.
So, so is that fine, Paul, Maru?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at that now.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, in last meeting that we synced on Thursday, that's what we sort of concluded. And I think I'm fine with that name as of now. And it seems a little more consistent with the versioning that we might want to give to the binaries that we release. I think starting from a 001 kind of a stuff might make sense. Maru, you have any comments for that?
I'm just catching up.
Oh, okay.
I'll be taking a look at it shortly.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so these are the issues that we have marked against and of the alpha that we need to probably complete.
So I think we can cross off official image builds for
Okay.
now. We're not going to be able to do the stuff for the release tags until we actually have something that we want to tag. I guess we could do it with a fake tag and test that. So
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
let's keep it open then. And Lindsay, you and I will talk about. Oh, actually, we already have one for tag images. So why don't we close 82, and Lindsay, you and I can talk about 152, which is the tag image build.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I was going to ask. So if we can build an image by when there is a tag applied on the master branch, it should be sufficient, right? Right, Paul? Hello, am I still audible?
Yep, yep.
You are. I'm not sure what's going on with Paul.
Oh, okay.
You still there, Paul?
Okay. And as far as I understand, user guide was taken up by Ivan. Ivan, you have any update on that?
Yeah, that's been updated. There's a PR for that open that's ready to be reviewed. I was able to test the I was able to test with a couple of Minikube clusters, but it does require building with the latest master of Minikube. There's no actual released version of Minikube that supports version 1.11 and profiles. So I've provided some instructions for that. And updated it to use KubeBuilder, updated the development docs to use KubeBuilder, as well as provide some instructions on building your own container image and your own deployment configuration using KubeBuilder, and then verified the scenario, kind of the example scenario on validating just some basic validation of the Federation deployment by creating some resources and being able to move them from one cluster to the other. Kind of added those example scripts or those example resources and verified those work. So in order to satisfy, I guess, there's the also basic walkthrough and associated test script. We can come back and revisit this discussion. So it looks like we have an update user guide, and then I was working based on 104, but it looks like we have 155 also.
Okay.
So anyway, it's ready to be reviewed. The next step is figuring out if we want to have an actual test script that runs through that kind of quick scenario that would perform some basic validation of Federation v2, and then eventually probably add a CI job for it.
Would you need any help with that, Ivan? Because I mean, I would rather prioritize the alpha release activities and anything else that I'm doing.
Yeah, sure. I think once the user guide and development guide is reviewed, we can get that committed. I'm probably going to look at reviewing the unjoined stuff. Don't think it's required for alpha release. It would simplify some things. So probably getting that reviewed will be my next priority, and or getting a test script. If we all think it would be valuable to have a test script that runs through the example scenario in the user guide to validate the Federation v2 deployment works to some degree using your own clusters, then I think that would probably be a next logical step as well.
Yeah, so I think that's something good to do as a next step in that area, Ivan. And I would start probably with a single cluster version of it, because that seems like going from testing with one cluster to multiple clusters is a pretty big leap. And we can, I think we'll definitely be able to get a cluster from Prow, a single one. I don't know about multiple ones. What do folks think about that? Maria, what do you think about that?
I mean, I don't think there's fundamentally much difference, but I think just getting the alpha out the door, it's so easy to just tack on more and more work. We just focus on getting it out the door, then we can focus on what comes next, and hopefully start getting feedback.
Yeah, I also think the same. Like, I wouldn't put the CI setup with multiple clusters and all that as anything to do with this alpha release. Shashi, I have a question for you. I remember you mentioned that you were able to set up the latest Minikube with the profiles, like multiple clusters and 1.11 running. Did you do
Yeah.
it from a branch or?
Yeah, I think I did with one of a release from the PR. It is not an official release.
Oh, okay. Yes, fine.
So I just use that, but it takes quite a long time to come up. And I digged into it, and it seems like the system CTL is restarting the kubelet every 10 seconds. And it takes quite a little long, but eventually it is coming up.
Okay.
So I think probably once they release the new Minikube version, they would definitely fix that. Until then, we might need to go with this temporary Minikube. That's what Ivan was talking about in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the user guide has a link to that version of Minikube. It's a CI build version, not an official release version. And also suggest as another alternative to just build the latest from master, which is pretty easy using their makefile. So one of those two approaches should work. I did run into some other strange issues, though, that I'll probably file a issue about as a result of testing some of this stuff.
You want to elaborate on those issues now?
Actually, they're not
No,
plural
issues with Minikube or issues with Federation?
With Federation,
Oh.
it's not actually a plural. It's just a one particular issue that seems to, at least when testing with multiple clusters, the namespace sometimes is not deleted in that other cluster. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So it appears to be some sort of timing issue that I've encountered.
Okay, so I thought I have also seen this earlier. So when I run the E2E test on the latest that we have, I often see that the namespace is created by the E2E tests, even after everything has finished, remain behind. So I thought that's something to do with my cluster setup or whatever I am using. We might be looking at the same issue.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I know that E2E stuff doesn't wait for the namespace to be deleted anymore. So if it isn't being properly deleted, it's possible that it's not being detected because it just attempts to delete it. Otherwise, it slows down the E2E test quite a bit. But yeah, I have noticed, I think it might be the same issue where sometimes it's deleted and sometimes it isn't.
Please file an issue. The issue, like the reason I disabled detection of deletion on E2E is it just slows things down, and usually you don't necessarily want, you don't want to check for deletion success serially. You want to be able to do it in parallel. So my idea would be is you would collect all of the namespaces that you intended to delete. You delete them in the test, but then you check for deletion at the very end. And hopefully by then, you know, everything would have been deleted, or at least you'd maximize the potential of things have been deleted. But just doing it naively and checking after every test would add like potentially 10 seconds per test. And I just found that unacceptable. So, but we can fix that. Just need to spend some time post-alpha.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll probably track that in an issue. That seems fine.
Just the main thing I wanted to track in the issue is just that we actually do detection. And issues that come out of that detection be tracked separately.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, on Thursday we had this list, like we did try to brainstorm and figure out if there is anything else that we want, I mean, whatever we want as part of the release. This is the list, I think my screen is shared right now. Is there anything else? You were not there on Thursday, Malusha. Is there anything else you might want to add to this? Or if we just track these things to completion, we might have a release ready.
So, Irfan, in your pull request, what did you have in mind for like the progression of the versions? Would our first actual alpha release, what version would that have in your scheme, in your pull? Because right now it's O.O.1-alpha.1 or something, right?
Yeah. So my intention was to follow something very similar to what K8s follows. So we do releases like first official release for Federation V2 might be V.0.0.1, V0.0.1,
yeah,
which might be a real release, not an alpha or beta per se.
yes.
Where at least one of the features we can say is sort of release ready or production ready. Until that happens, we'll have a tag appended to it as alpha or beta or something. The progression would be from alpha.1, alpha.2, alpha.3, and that might be the last alpha release. Then we can go to beta.1, beta.2, beta.3. That's the last beta release. Once all that happens, Then we have the first V001 release. Does
Okay.
that sound reasonable?
You've lost me at some point. So here's what I heard is I think I heard that the first alpha release, like actual release that we do, you thought should be version 0.0.1. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. But I wasn't clear on where the like alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 came in.
Yeah, so I think we did talk about that we might do timely releases like weekly or bi-weekly releases once we have cut the first release, right?
Yeah.
So that is where I did append that alpha.0, alpha.1, alpha.3, that kind of stuff. I'm not sure how appropriate that is, so we can deliberate on that.
So I'm not exactly sure how this would be handled in Kubernetes. What we did in service catalog was that our first alpha release was 0.0.1, and for subsequent like weekly releases, we just bumped the like patch version. So the next one was 0.0.2. And after our initial alpha release of that 0.0.1, decided a scope for the first beta release, which was our 0.1.0, and did like point releases every week or two. So 0.1, 0.0.1, 0.0.2, 3, 4, 5, and so on until we went to beta and then bumped it to 0.1. And then 0.1.1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for patch releases after that. How do folks feel about that scheme?
That seems quite fine to me. Actually, I did think through that, but that name does not reflect the status. Status
Yeah.
like
your 0.0.1 alpha 1 makes total sense to check into me right now because it's pre the initial quote alpha release. Is that what you meant it?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna LGTM on your poll then.
And we can deliberate more on what versioning we want to follow. But my suggestion is something like this. So what you mentioned, Paul, is like progression of the versions in due course of time, and that is something that we can follow. But at any given point of time, each of the releases also might, like for example, we are talking about 0.0.1 right now. That one release itself might be something that we release in say 2 months span of time, or 1.5 or 6 weeks span of time or something. But we might have intermediate releases in between every week. So once you have gone through all those intermediate releases, after 6 weeks, you might have no suffix alpha or beta to it, and you might have a clean V001 version release. That sounds reasonable.
I think it sounds reasonable as what I suggested, but slightly different. I'm happy to talk. Like let's do this. Let's both write up like our specific ideas on the determined versioning scheme, number 151, and we can hash it out there. And I think what is in your poll is fine to be merged now. I think it says the right thing at this point.
Okay, cool.
So Irfan, were you going to, as a follow-up to this one, were you going to implement the Git SHA being part of the version?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And there is one more, I think there is a issue here itself. Version for all, this 150 version to all binaries. So Shashi mentioned that he might be doing something. If he, Shashi, you haven't started, then I'll probably take it this
Yeah,
up also as part of it.
I haven't started, but it's pretty simple, I believe.
Yeah, correct.
You can
So,
pick it from other tools like Kubernetes. Yeah.
yeah, so my intention was just have some common implementation of picking up the version, and all the binaries can just, whenever they are built, they can pick that version
Sure.
scheme from there. So I'll take it up next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to update about or get
So
updated about?
let's make sure, since we're basically acting as like one group right now, like we want to just make sure everybody knows what everyone else is working on. I think that Lindsay, we've talked about you doing the tag builds, and Irfan, you're going to add the Git version, and Shashi, you're going to add the same type of thing for the controller. Ivan, I think you're working on test script for the user guide. Is that accurate, everybody?
Yeah, I think, and it's best we assign the person to the issue.
Yeah,
Then,
do that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We have a couple of issues tracking user guide updates and script updates, though, that we probably need to
you
consolidate.
mentioned another one, right, Ivan?
And yeah, there's that one that was recently filed, and then there was the one that was already listed in the milestone. If you go back, yeah, down at the bottom, there's the sorry, it's in the milestone.
Okay.
Yeah. The basic walkthrough and associated test script. And I didn't hear if we had an agreement on whether a test script was needed for alpha or not.
I think it's okay without the test script also. By test script, you are saying that script that runs E2E tests against cluster, right?
Not EDE
Automatically.
necessarily, but it runs through the user guide example or some flavor of that. Most likely just the user guide example for now.
Yeah, I don't see how that can be useful. See, if something like, for example, earlier in Kubernetes docs, there used to be a remote shell which was provided to a cluster where user can play with it. So if that kind of a thing for Federation is there, I feel it might be useful to the user. But a test script which just runs some example, I don't know if it is reflecting something or providing some information to the user. User might want to just run some commands, Federation commands, what to do with Federation, that kind of stuff, right? Rather than run a test script running an example. What do others feel?
Yeah, so the user guide has like an example walkthrough where
Correct,
a
where
user can
the
get a
steps
feel
are
for.
provided.
Yeah. And I think the idea at the time that was discussed is to have a script that would kind of automate that so that we could all have some basic form of validation that says the user guide is working and the Federation control plane deployment works, and potentially even add that to a CI job at some point. And I guess I didn't hear whether we agreed whether a script is valuable enough for an alpha release or not. I could certainly work on it and eventually have it ready for a follow-on alpha O.2 release or something, but I'm not hearing whether people want it for a first alpha release.
I did put in my opinion. I'm not very inclined to have it, but what do others feel?
I think that we should try to get an EDE that exercises Federation against a real cluster as soon as possible, and yeah.
Does that mean, Paul, that you are saying it's not necessary for this alpha?
I think it should be somebody's highest priority to be working on.
I'm not clear on what you mean. It should be a blocker for alpha or no?
Well, I think that it should happen naturally before alpha, but if it doesn't, I don't think that we should delay it. If it's the last thing, then
So let's just say it's not a blocker.
it's not a blocker, but somebody should be working on it.
Sure.
Okay. Yep. So we don't need to have add one more issue here, right? For that particular step. Anything else that we might want to add?
So, Maru, do you have something that you're working on right now?
I'm just catching up on all the stuff and probably reviewing the docs. I mean, I think the main thing from last week was getting KubeFed or whatever is renamed KubeFed and the docs updated to be consistent with the way we're doing things. I mean, other than, I don't know, I've been kind of half following this and half reading email, but like, what else other than that is important?
Gotcha.
Yeah, and my intention of asking this question again a couple of times is that we basically list these, whatever is needed to be done, and then we might not need a daily sync. We can just track the issues to completion. And obviously we have that Slack channel to post our status or whatever, right?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Irfan.
Yeah, what I was saying is why I'm trying to emphasize on listing what else needs to be done as issues over here, so that we don't need to have daily sync on status. We can just post whatever what a person did in that Slack group that we have, and just track these issues to completion. So once these are completed, we have the alpha release, right?
Yes.
Our daily sync online stand-ups might not be needed. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, if we can get away without doing them, they're a costly use of time, and I think they're very late for you and Shashi. So do we want to like naturally talk again on Wednesday?
Yeah, that seems fine to me. That's our regular time. So at our regular time, that's what you mean, right?
All right, that would be fine with me.
Cool.
Yeah, cool then.
All right.
So I'll see you guys again on Wednesday, and hopefully I would have completed these things by tomorrow. And Paul, we probably offline talk about the versioning. Maru, I mean, we can all sing together on Slack or someplace about the versioning scheme.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay then. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot.
See you on Monday.
Bye.
Oh, sorry, Wednesday.
No.
Thanks. Bye.